Before there were kings, there was a shepherd. Before there were swords, there was faith. This is the story of a boy who faced a giant, not with strength, but with courage, trust, and one name, the God of Israel. Get ready to relive one of the most epic battles in the Bible. I am David, son of Jesse, the youngest among my brothers, forgotten by men, but known by God. I grew up in the fields of Bethlehem, tending to my family's sheep. There, in the quiet hills, I learned to hear the Lord's voice. Every sunrise was a reminder of His faithfulness. Every star-filled night, a promise that He was with me. It wasn't a life of glory, but it was rich in purpose. I fought off bears and lions to protect my flock, not with a sword, but with courage. In those moments, I felt God's hand strengthening me. I wasn't a warrior, but I knew the Lord of hosts fought for me. One ordinary morning, my father called me. "Take food to your brothers on the battlefield," he said. I obeyed. With bread and cheese in hand, I walked the path across the desert. I had no idea that day would change everything, that my calling was not just to feed warriors, but to become one. When I arrived, I saw the tension in the eyes of Israel's soldiers. I saw fear. And then I heard the voice of a giant echoing through the valley, defiant, arrogant, mocking the army of the living God. Something ignited inside me. It wasn't human anger. It was zeal. It was faith. It was the sound of my true calling. Every morning, Goliath came down into the valley. His voice thundered, mocking, challenging, cursing. And every morning, the men of Israel drew back. I saw seasoned warriors tremble. I saw eyes that had seen battles now filled with terror. I asked myself, how could one man inspire so much fear? How could an army remain silent before such insult? But it wasn't the size of the giant that froze them. It was the absence of faith. While everyone looked at Goliath's armor, I looked to the Lord. They saw brute strength. I saw arrogance. They saw defeat. I saw an opportunity for God's glory. I spoke to some soldiers, to my brothers. I was rebuked, mocked. "You're just a boy. Go back to your sheep," they said. But something inside me refused to accept that silence, that cowardice. God hadn't brought me there to stand and watch. Saul tried to dress me in his armor. It was heavy, uncomfortable, made for a warrior, not for me. I took it off. I didn't need man's protection. What covered me was God's presence. I went down to the stream and chose 5 smooth stones, not out of doubt, but preparation. My sling already knew precision, and my heart knew the God who never fails. As I walked into the valley, each step echoed in silence. Goliath saw me and laughed. "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" he mocked. But I was not afraid. Fear had no place where faith ruled. I answered in a firm voice, "You come to me with sword, spear, and shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." The battle was not mine. It was God's, and I was only the instrument. Silence filled the valley. Israel's army held its breath. The Philistines roared with mockery, and I, with a stone in hand, ran. I did not hesitate. I did not doubt. I ran toward the giant. My arm spun with precision. The sling whistled through the air. And then, impact. The stone struck Goliath in the forehead, a sharp thud. The giant stumbled and fell, like a tower without foundation, like pride before the Lord. The ground trembled. Silence turned to uproar. I took Goliath's sword, heavy like his arrogance, and with it I finished the battle, not by the strength of my arm, but by the hand of the living God. The Philistines fled. Fear changed sides, and Israel ran with renewed courage. The impossible became reality before all eyes. And I, the least of Jesse's sons, was lifted up before kings and nations. It was never about me. It was about Him, about the name above every name, about the faithfulness of the one who empowers the unlikely. What began with a stone became an eternal story. That day changed everything. But the battle wasn't just against Goliath. It was against pride, fear, and unbelief. God was teaching Israel to trust not in swords, but in His presence. I returned home not as a hero, but as a servant. My heart was full of awe and gratitude. I was called to the palace, served as a musician, and with every note I played, I remembered my strength came from the Lord. The path to the throne would be long, persecutions, deserts, betrayals, but I learned that the true king is the one who first rules his own heart. The victories ahead would not be mine, but his, and the songs I wrote would echo for generations. Psalms born from pain, faith, and worship. I was anointed but not exalted, chosen but tested, and in the end I understood. God doesn't look for the strongest. He seeks those who pursue him with all their heart. But God doesn't look for the strongest. He chooses the willing. He anoints the unlikely. He reveals himself through those who trust him, even while trembling. David's faith didn't come from the strength of his arms, but from the certainty that the Lord was greater than any giant before him. David didn't win because he had a perfect plan. He won because he walked into battle with God's name on his lips and confidence in his heart. That same courage is available to you and me, not because we are good enough, but because we serve a God who is. David's sling wasn't just a weapon. It symbolized what was already in his hands. God uses the ordinary to accomplish the extraordinary. A stone, a prayer, a decision to trust, a sincere surrender. Today, maybe you are facing something too big, too difficult. But remember, what seems impossible for you is where God's supernatural begins. Don't run. Face it. Run into battle like David, and you will see giants fall before the faithfulness of the Lord. A symbolic scene of a young shepherd boy facing a massive shadowy giant figure made of mist and darkness, representing fear and doubt, set in an open valley under a moody sky. Ancient biblical atmosphere, cinematic 8K realism.